to the channel, welcome to another video. It's that time on the weekend, it's Premier League predictions time. Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures are almost upon us this weekend. And of course, this is the video where I go through each and every single game, talk about them, analyse them, and of course give overall predictions on how I think each and every single game is going to pan out this coming weekend. Like I say, another exciting round of Premier League action that is going to affect the entirety of the Premier League table. But before we get into all of those predictions and everything else in between, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always ever greatly appreciated. And of course, get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, this is a Premier League prediction show after all. So do get involved with your predictions. I would love to hear from you all. I'm sure it'll all make for great and interesting reading. So without further ado, let's get on with the predictions, and we're starting off with Brentford taking on Liverpool. It is the Saturday lunchtime kickoff. It is going to be an exciting and intriguing game. It's another 12:30 kickoff for Liverpool that they have to contend with. But I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. Now, there may be a little bit of bias in it. This is obviously a very difficult ground that Liverpool have struggled since Brentford have come back to come up to the Premier League. This is a team that, on their day, can be extremely dangerous. And against a team like Liverpool, with Brentford's counter-attacking style, with the form of the likes of Ivan Toney, for example, they normally tend to turn up against Liverpool. They normally tend to give Liverpool a big run for their money. But in a season in which Liverpool need to prove themselves, in a season in which Liverpool can set the precedent right off the bat this weekend, before the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City take to the field in... Obviously, Arsenal's game is a bit more easier than Manchester City's, but even so, you would still expect probably both of those sides to win. Liverpool can still mount the pressure on both of those by maintaining their 2-point lead at the top of the table. Now, it's going to be difficult, of course, like I say, the Bees are very difficult, especially when they're at home. It's a 12:30 kickoff for Liverpool. It has all the makings of a massive banana skin for Jurgen Klopp's side to have to contend with, and especially with the way that they play in contrast to the way that Brentford play. This is going to make for a very intriguing battle ahead. But I've gone with a 3-2 victory for Liverpool. I think they'll just about edge it. I think the return of the potential of Mohamed Salah back in the lineup, as well as obviously the form of the likes of Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz in particular, will see them have enough firepower to maybe overcome the challenge of Thomas Frank's side. Defensively, though, there are going to be some question marks. There are going to be some things that Liverpool will have to deal with, which is why I do see them conceding. But I think Liverpool will just about edge it overall. So I have gone with a 3-2 victory in favour of Jurgen Klopp's side. Moving on, we've come to Burnley against Arsenal. This should have Arsenal win written all over it, and that's why I've gone with a pretty hefty 4-0 victory. The Gunners have actually managed to put together a couple of very good goal-scoring performances and overall performances as well in recent weeks. And obviously, last weekend, that 6-0 hammering of the Hammers in West Ham was obviously something that was near enough perfection, as much as perfection as you are going to see within today's modern game. It was a fantastic result by Arsenal. It was a brilliant performance overall, and they come against the Burnley side, who are of course looking to fight relegation. Now, being at Turf Moor could obviously spring a couple of surprises for Mikel Arteta's side. But I feel like with the way that Burnley play, they're not going to sit back. They're not going to try and defend. They'll try and attack Arsenal. And that's where I see their Achilles heel being. They don't have enough quality in either the attacking third or the defensive third to not only keep Arsenal quiet, but to also put together a few goals for Arsenal to have some food for thought over, which is why I think Arsenal can take advantage of a Burnley side that play a little bit higher, a little bit more open, a little bit more expansive, and that is where I think Arsenal can pick them off, and pick them off quite emphatically. I've gone with another big win for Arsenal, who will then keep up the pressure on Manchester City, who will play later on that night. Next up, Burnley against Aston Villa. I've gone with a 2-1 win to Villa in this one. Fulham, either of these sides in recent weeks, really. With Fulham overall this season, you never know which Fulham side's going to turn up, whether they're going to be good, bad, or ugly. And as for Aston Villa, they've been very solid throughout, but they do have a tendency sometimes to let things slip. You saw last weekend, they were probably on the ascendancy for a large part of that second half against Manchester United, but ultimately crumbled due to a Scott McTominay late winner in that game. And, you know, previous results before that haven't exactly gone their way either. So, with that all being said, I have gone with an Aston Villa win based purely on form across this season. I cannot honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to expect in this one. I genuinely don't know which Fulham side is going to turn up. I don't know which Aston Villa side is going to turn up, which is why overall I have gone with an Aston Villa win. I know that Villa don't necessarily have the best of away records, and I know that Fulham can be pretty dangerous when they are at home. So I've gone with a 2-1 scoreline in favour of Aston Villa. I just think they'll have enough firepower when push comes to shove to really get the 3 points at the end of the day and at the end of the game. So I've gone with Villa to get the 3 points in this one. Newcastle against Bournemouth is our next game of focus at St James's Park. Newcastle, I've gone with a 2-0 victory in this one. Obviously, Bournemouth do pose a bit of a threat, and of course, they've got Dominic Solanke up front for them, who's having a very good season. But I just think in the past few weeks, their season has really come off the rails a little bit, whilst Newcastle's has got a little bit better, and I think after last week's 3-2 victory against Nottingham Forest, they'll look to continue that going into a home game next, and obviously a big home game at that, a chance to really put more pressure on the teams that are above them. I just think Newcastle will get the job done when it matters most. Again, you'd never rule Newcastle out at home, not especially under this Eddie Howe regime. And I just think Newcastle will get the job done. And I think they'll get it done pretty comfortably. And that's why I've also gone with a clean sheet as well. So I've gone with a Newcastle win. But don't be surprised if Bournemouth do end up getting something from this. It wouldn't be out the realms of possibility, given Newcastle do sometimes suffer with a few banana skin fixtures. And this could potentially be one of them. And of course, Bournemouth sometimes do manage to turn it on against some of the bigger teams. So we'll see how this one goes. But I've gone with a 2-0 victory in favour of Eddie Howe's side here. Next up, Nottingham Forest against West Ham United. Both of these teams looking to get back to winning ways, of course, after last weekend's defeats for both of these sides, with Forest losing 3-2 to Newcastle, as we just mentioned, and of course West Ham looking to bounce back from that pretty humiliating 6-0 defeat at the hands of Arsenal in that London derby, of course. Now, I know that obviously West Ham, before these past couple of weeks, have had a very good season, but they have shipped 6 goals in the past 9 goals, in the past couple of games. I do fear a little bit for David Moyes. I know that it sounds a bit weird considering where West Ham are in the table and the fact that I don't think many people probably predicted them to be this high at this stage of the season. But I do fear for David Moyes a little bit, because it does seem like the West Ham fans are getting pretty impatient of their team being good one week, having a few bad weeks, and then being good the next, having a few more bad weeks. Because when West Ham are on form, they are on form. But when they're off form, they are definitely off form. You could argue maybe Forest are a little bit the same, but Forest are obviously under new management. They're getting used to things under Nuno Espirito Santo still. You could argue they were maybe a little bit unfortunate not to come away with anything last week against Newcastle in what was a pretty tough game for them there. But they didn't, and they're going to be looking to bounce back. And I think Forest at home will definitely fancy their chances of getting something from this game. Maybe even a win. But I've gone down the middle. I've said 2-2. I just think this game opens up a very nervy kind of atmosphere. A game that both teams need to win to get back to winning ways. And I don't see it exactly being the best game of football you're ever going to see. But it could be interesting in terms of the direct approach that both teams may take. Forest being the home side, you could maybe argue, may get the edge in this one, but I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I've gone down the middle, and I think the points will be shared come the final whistle. Moving on, Tottenham against Wolves. Now, this one is going to be a very intriguing game. Earlier on in the season, Wolves absolutely battered Tottenham in the reverse fixture of this, and Wolves, rightly so, came out as the 2-1 winners. They left it late. They had numerous opportunities. Poor finishing ultimately let them down on that day. But they come up against a Tottenham side who are feeling the love right now under Ange Postecoglou. And obviously are getting the rewards for that even very late on. Last weekend they won 2-1 themselves against the Brighton side who just didn't have enough to maintain the point that was being offered until Brennan Johnson's very, 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 very late goal deep in injury time. Now, this result could go any which way. Any which way. And I'm not entirely confident when I say that Tottenham to win 2-1. I like what Gary O'Neill's done. I like what he's got him playing at Wolves. I just think sometimes they do lack a clinical edge. And it's very, very... This game could go very much how it did before. This game could go very much in the way of Spurs get an early goal, but then Wolves dominate the entire game. It's very possible, and with the way that Tottenham play, it does leave a lot at the back that Wolves can exploit. However, Tottenham's playmaking and Tottenham's overall fluid play going forward could also cause a lot of food for thought for Wolves going into this game. Again, a draw could be likely. A Wolves win wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But I think with them being at home, with the kind of form that Tottenham have built at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in recent weeks, I've gone with a Tottenham win. Only just 2-1, but it could be a very entertaining end-to-end game in which both teams just don't have clinical enough finishers in the final third to get the job done earlier than what it probably should be. But 2-1 to Tottenham is what I've gone for. Only just. But Ange Postecoglou to get another 3 points under their belt. Sheffield United to Brighton. I think we're moving on to Sunday's games now because we're going to skip ahead. We're going to leave a particular big game for Saturday night to be the main event of this round of fixtures. So we're going to skip ahead to Sunday's games. We're at Bramall Lane for Sheffield United against Brighton. I've gone with a 3-1 win to Brighton. We know that obviously Sheffield United need to get points on the board and they'll be looking to obviously build upon that big victory that they got at the expense of Luton last weekend. But they're coming up against the Brighton side that are going to be tough, and of course they're going to be tough. It's Brighton. They're going to be hurting a little bit from, of course, losing it very late on in the game against Tottenham. Like I say, Brennan Johnson's extremely late goal in injury time killed the game off for the Seagulls and ultimately saw them come away with nothing. But I think this is a very good opportunity for the Seagulls to obviously get back to winning ways in this one and get 3 points that they desperately need to kind of push on a little bit for this season. I see them doing it. I think they'll have enough about them to get rid of Sheffield United. I see Sheffield United obviously posing some sort of threat every now and again, particularly being at Bramall Lane. They could be tough, but I think eventually Brighton will see through this game. They will eventually come to terms with the game and they will put Sheffield United to the sword in a 3-1 victory that will ultimately leave Sheffield United, of course, still in the relegation zone, still battling for their lives. Next up, move on to another relegation candidate, Luton. They'll be hosting Manchester United at Kenilworth Road, and I've gone with a 2-1 victory to Manchester United. United are in some very good form right now. They are still unbeaten in 2024. And I think with the form in particular of a certain Rasmus Højlund, who is finally coming to the forefront. I say finally a little bit. I have actually backed him, even as a rival fan. I've still backed him a fair amount. I think United will get the job done. I know that Kenilworth Road can be very tough for any opposition. We know that Luton have given some of the big boys in this league a very good run for their money across the season so far. They've given the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, and so on and so forth a few good tests at Kenilworth Road. I see it being another tough game for United to navigate through, but one that I think, given the individual players that they have, given the match winners that they have and the individual talent, rather than maybe the overall talent and quality of the team, they can navigate through with the 3 points that they're going to need to put the pressure on the top 5 this weekend. United to get the job done. It wouldn't be out the realms of possibility for Luton to get something, of course. This could be a game in which United flop in, which wouldn't be out the realms of possibility again, and wouldn't honestly be something that is completely out of the blue. And again, a draw could certainly be possible, particularly with Luton being at home. But I think, like I say, with the individual talent that United have, with the individual match winners that they have, I think United will just about get the win in this game. 2-1 to United I've gone for here, and I think they'll get the job done. Moving on to Monday's game, and it is from Goodison Park on Merseyside for Everton taking on Crystal Palace. I've gone with a 2-1 Everton win. I think this is a massive game for both of these sides, of course. Everton will be looking to get back to winning ways, and obviously looking to stay clear of the drop zone as best they can, with obviously a looming FFP charge on the horizon, and obviously already being docked 10 points from their total originally. And they come up against the Crystal Palace side who are in desperate need of a win as well. Roy Hodgson is in some serious hot water. They lost very late on to Chelsea on Monday night, but they come up against the side that it's a must-win game for both of these sides. It's a must-win game for both of these sides that I think Everton might just have enough about them, particularly with them being at home as well, to navigate through and get the job done. I see Everton getting the job done. I think they'll be fine in this aspect, and I think they'll just about get the job done over Roy Hodgson's men, and I think further increase the pressure on the Crystal Palace manager and maybe even the Crystal Palace board from the fans to obviously maybe get a replacement in. Isn't that the realms of possibility for a draw to happen? Of course, we have seen Everton in the past slip on these kinds of fixtures, but I think they may have enough about them. If they carry on their performances from previous weeks where they've actually been okay but not necessarily got the job done because of better opposition, I think Everton might get the job done, and I see them probably stealing it on maybe something like a set piece or something. So Everton to get the job done, I think they'll be fine on Monday night. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the biggest highlight of this weekend's round of Premier League action, it comes from, of course, the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City are going to be taking on Chelsea. Earlier on this season, these two teams threw out an absolute cracker of a game. An absolute incredible 4-4 draw is what played out the last time these two teams met in the Premier League. What has this game got in store for us this time around? I've gone with a 3-1 victory in favour of Manchester City. I think City are in some incredible form right now. And even when they're not playing well, they still have those individual moments. Like we saw last week, they weren't exactly great against Everton, but Erling Haaland turned up when it matters most with his killer instinct to put Everton to bed on that occasion. In this one, look, we've seen time and time again this season, Chelsea turn up against the big boys and, you know, against the bigger teams that you wouldn't probably expect them to get anything out of. Chelsea do turn up. It's the games that you would expect Chelsea to win, in which is a bit more of a question mark. But I still see them giving City a bit of a run for their money. Well, I say run for their money. They've got plenty of money themselves. I still see Chelsea giving City a really good game for the most part. But I think City will have too much quality, particularly in the final third, to kill the game off and to obviously get the job done when it matters most. As much as I'm praying that Chelsea do us a favour and do everybody a favour and get a win here, or at least force City to drop points in some way, shape or form, I just think with the quality that they have, I just think with the form of the likes of Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland, and then behind that you've got obviously the likes of Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva and Rodri and anybody else that you can name in that incredible squad. I just think City will have too much for Chelsea to handle, and that is why I've gone with a City win. And I would fully expect City to get the job done and to win the game by 3-1. And of course put pressure on Liverpool again, going into obviously when they play their game in hand on Tuesday. That will ultimately be cancelled out because Liverpool play on the Wednesday, because obviously there's Carabao Cup action next week. But there will still be a lot more football to come, but I still think City will get the job done, as much as I am hoping and praying for Chelsea to do something and to get the job done themselves. But I doubt it very much. I doubt it very much, and it will increase the pressure on Pochettino because that's just seemingly the way Chelsea fans are right now. And that's it. That's it for the prediction side of things for this weekend's round of upcoming Premier League action. These are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are coming up this weekend? What are your own thoughts, comments, opinions? But most of all, of course, what are your predictions on each and every single game that's coming up in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League action for this upcoming weekend? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think and feel. I would love to know all of that good stuff, your predictions, everything down below in the comment section. Would be great to hear from you all. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talk, Premier League predictions video, should I say. And I will see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers guys, thanks everyone for watching. Take care, have a good rest of your night. I'll speak to you again very, very soon.